Are you looking for a new whiskey adventure? Then climb in and buckle up. Get ready for one hell of a ride on the Whiskey Trip podcast with your host, Big Chief. Join in as he and his guests explore whiskey and dive into whiskey stories from around the world. Now here's your host, Big Chief.
Hey, it's old Big Chief, and yeah, you're taking another ride on the Whiskey Trip, listeners. And I got one of my most favorite people on the face of the earth. I got the Bourbon Baroness. Yeah, yes indeed, yes indeed. I got April Weller Cantrell, a good friend of mine throughout the last several years. Not almost, she is family to me. I call her sis, and I have great conversations with her and her husband, and we talk whiskey all the time. So I wanted to invite her on this week, and we're going to talk about the downturn in whiskey right now. Not just in bourbon, but whiskey altogether. And throughout history, the American whiskey industry has faced numerous periods of challenges and upheaval. Whether it be the Whiskey Rebellion in 1794, the rise and the fall of the Whiskey Trust in the late 19th century, Prohibition, post-Prohibition, and the consolidation and slump in the mid-20th century, and then modern challenges. Whiskey has seen it all come and go, and we're going to talk about a lot of that that's going on right now and the past history of that, and we're going to compare some past history, past people to modern day challenges that we're seeing today in the whiskey industry. So, April, welcome to the Whiskey Trip, my friend.
Well, it's good to be back. It's good to see you, and especially after that big move that we did from Tennessee to Kentucky.
Yeah, you're back up in your roots up there in Kentucky.
I am, and man, we love it. We absolutely love it.
Well, I am happy for you guys that you got to go back home, and I know it was bittersweet leaving. We had lots of discussions about that, but
We did. I bet your ear and Viv's ear.
well, because we've moved so many times throughout our history together and with the military, and then we made a big move from Kentucky down here to Texas, and it was tough, and we've thought about moving back to Kentucky lately. We've looked at all the numbers and the challenges, and it's some tough decisions when you have to pick up roots and stuff. But we're like gypsies, though. Every 3 or 4 years, we get that itch to like, hey, pack it all up, put the whiskey in the truck, and let's roll.
I think I used to feel that way, Big Chief, but I think after this last move,
That's
and
enough.
it was enough with the girls. I mean, we will do one other move from where we are right now because we want to build, want to find some land. But I left children in Tennessee and then moved one to Florida Atlantic this week. And man, they took it a lot harder than we thought they would, even though they grown.
Well, we're going to drink some whiskey on this show, listeners, while we're talking about what's going on in whiskey. April, what are you drinking on right now?
I am drinking a bottle that was given to us by our realtor when we sold the house, and it's Smokewagon. It is Smokewagon straight bourbon whiskey. It is 45 proof. Yep, 46.25. And it's a Nevada whiskey. So I kind of picked this morning because one, I've never even tried Smokewagon. Heard of it, but had never really bought it, and it was a gift, so I was like, I wanted to try it.
What's the back say? Where's it distilled at?
It is distilled in, see, in Indiana. Well, I be damned. Aged and bottled by Nevada Distilling Company in Las Vegas, but in Indiana. Well, doesn't that have quite a little story to it?
I knew that where it was distilled at.
Did you?
Yeah. I am a student of the game, and I know what people do. But he makes no secret that he doesn't distill it. He selects barrels from MGP and does a great job at it, as others do. And there's no shame in his game with that.
No.
A lot of people do it, and some people try to hide it.
True.
I say, Aaron, he doesn't hide shit. He's out there like the Nevada cowboy that he is. So,
well, I have to say, I like I like their branding of their label. It's a good looking label. It's a good looking bottle. I mean, it's I know which bottle it is, but I did not know they weren't making it in Nevada. But still, cheers, good.
Cheers. I'll raise my glass to you. I'm going to tell everybody what I'm drinking after I take a little sip of this. Oh, my Lord. Now, listeners, I drove home yesterday, and we have a gate that to our property, and you got to do a little clicker. But so the mailman and the UPS truck has the gate code, and so does FedEx. But this was shipped by the U.S. Postal Service, and I saw a little box sitting out there in front of my gate, and I was like, "Ooh, it's 100 degrees out here. I wonder what's inside that box. I better grab it." I opened it, and there was a little bitty birthday gift in there, and I was like, "Well, it's not my birthday. What is this?" So lo and behold, inside that birthday gift, wrapped up for me, is a little bitty bottle, a sample of this year's Old Forester Birthday Bourbon.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I got it like that. Come on now.
Yeah, no, I love birthday bourbon.
Yeah, so this is the 2025 Birthday Bourbon right here in my glass. It's aged 12 years. It's going to be retail for $199.99. It's going to come out obviously on George Gavin Brown's birthday, which is September 2nd. Now, there's a lottery system that you got to go on their website and go ahead and register to win a bottle of this. Not really winning it, but you can get selected. So go to oldforester.com between August 18th and August 21st and registered to be put in for these sweepstakes. Now, let me tell you what's so special about this whiskey right here as I sip on it a little bit. This is only 210 barrels from Warehouse K, floors 1 and 5. And what's different about this is not a sour mash whiskey like the rest of Old Forester's expressions. This is a sweet mash. They didn't put any setback into this. So this makes it totally different. They usually don't do the sweet mash there. On the color of this is like a honeycomb right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, the aroma and the nose on this, that hints of that raw oak, tropical fruits, and green apple. That green apple is coming through. Now, on that first rush, that first taste across my palate, I'm getting some silky notes of oak, vanilla. It's really balanced. I get a little clove spice, a little bit of citrus. And on that finish, man, it's just sitting there, is that burnt sugar that I love. Almost that kettle corn with some candied apple. It is like I'm going to the fair for my birthday. You ever been to the fair and you get that candied apple? You get that kettle corn that's just been cooked. You can smell it in the air, and then you get to taste it. It is absolutely delicious. So happy birthday to Gavin. He started one hell of a thing here. Make sure you enter to win this right here. You will not be disappointed. I'm not disappointed in the proof. 92 proof. Usually I'm a proofer. Yes, I like high proof stuff, but 92 proof is delicious with this right here.
Well, I've never met a birthday bourbon I have not liked, and I've met several. So through my time, and that's one of my favorites. But let me tell you the funny story about what my youngest child did to me on my last little bit of birthday bourbon that I had about 4 years ago. Now I do have another bottle I am protecting with all of myself. Um, I asked Achina to go and pour me another pour, and um, she didn't think that there was enough in there for another pour, so she took what was left of a regular O Forest bottle and poured it in with the birthday bourbon.
Oh,
Oh, I was like, you did what?
that's not good.
No, no, it was not good. It did not mix bad. It was, I mean, it was still very drinkable, but it was a sad moment because I would have just take the last drop, birthday bourbon by itself. Don't mix that, please, with any other bourbon. It's not an infinity bottle.
Well, that would upset me a little bit. I mean, George Gavin Brown, he started a revolution there, I would say, in Louisville, Kentucky. And the bad thing is that not just Louisville, but all of Kentucky. I wouldn't say Kentucky is dependent on bourbon and whiskey, but they promote the hell out of it, and they've been having some issues lately. And it's not just one distillery; it's several distilleries across the state of Kentucky that are having issues. What, just to pinpoint some quick notes, what would you say the major cause of that is?
Well, I think some of the major cause currently is, throughout 2020 and coming forward, we saw a really big increase in um, making whiskey and putting barrels down and all of the warehouses going up. And I think at this point, there is some concern that they've made so much whiskey. What are they going to do with it when it comes of age? And obviously, we're now 5 years from 2020. So I think there's probably some concern with that. Um, I know that there's concerns with the tariffs, but I have my own opinion on that. And then the other thing that I think that some of them are really looking at is that the Gen Xers that have come, or is it Gen Zs, whatever, the last
It'd be
Gen
Gen
Zs.
Z, yeah.
Yeah, so the millennials are drinking it, maybe selecting like a higher premium whiskey, but whereas the Gen Zs are wavering on, they like those ready to drink cocktails. Bourbon's not always on their list. Um, so I kind of look at it like back in the 70s when bourbon kind of took a back seat when vodka and tequila came forward. But I mean, it's always going to be there. I think it's always going to be very approachable, drinkable, but you have to kind of work with what you got. And I do believe that, you know, you have to come up with ways to introduce it to these Gen Zers.
Well, last week I talked about that, about marketing and how these companies are just they're not really getting to the consumer in the proper way. They've stuck with their old traditional marketing companies, with magazines. The only person or at distillery out there that I feel is really hitting it on all cylinders is Sazerac with their marketing team and how they're getting their product on TV and in movies, and they're taking different approaches to marketing. But there's other reasons, like you pointed out: financial difficulties, high debt, and failing sales, and inability to compete in a saturated market is factors. When you look at the smaller distillers, and I pointed this out time after time after time, that these craft distilleries out there are coming of age, and they're putting an ass whooping on these giants out there. And the giants are denying it over and over and over again. And it's almost like the whiskey glut of the 1800s. They did the same thing. It's funny how history repeats itself.
It
Well,
is.
go ahead and be honest about it. You know, when I go into a whiskey store, I'm not looking at the white Jim Beam label anymore. I'm not looking at the Weller Special Reserve here in Texas anymore. I'm looking for something from a craft distillery that I haven't seen that piques my interest. Is it a boutique kind of thing where I'm looking for that craft distillery that just strikes my interest? I'm looking for that. I mean, that's how we met. I was
Absolutely.
looking for something different. So you got to be honest. But that overproduction is absolutely crazy. I think these distilleries just got greedy. I think, and let's make more. And unfortunately, it's hurting them. But I think the consumer will benefit from this later on down the road, because there's going to be all this old whiskey that's just set there because it's just going to have to sit in the barrel because it's not moving in the store.
No,
In the Go
I
ahead.
I agree with you on that. And the other thing in that whole line is, you know, I think distilleries either they're not admitting or they're not looking at how smart the consumer has become. Like you were saying, you were looking for something craft, something different when you met us. And the consumer today wants premium, they want it priced right, they want something different, and they want to know the backstory. And that's why tourism combined with good marketing could make a world of difference. Like you said, we're still marketing in this industry in a very old fashioned way, which is not the smart marketing.
Yeah, I just had somebody tell me no, we are not doing podcast. I've actually had two distilleries in the past 3 days say we're not doing podcasts, we're not doing interviews, we're not doing anything of that. And I'm like, why not? What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Get it out there. There's always that saying that any news, whether it's bad or good, is good news.
Yeah.
And I point to Uncle Nearest right now, and they put out a call for their supporters to buy their whiskey, and then obviously they're in trouble right now. They're in some, I'd say they're in deep shit, millions of dollars in deep. But and I wouldn't say they're being honest with their supporters, but at the same time, they ask for help, and the only way they're going to get out of that is to sell more whiskey, I think.
Right.
Now, I was like, I'm going to do a little market study. So I went into 5 different stores in the past 2 weeks, and I asked their store managers, I said, hey, do you think Uncle Nearest is selling? Do you sell a lot of it? Do you? They say they're the fastest growing whiskey company or best selling whiskey out there. Is that true? All 5 said the same thing. We barely sell it. And those aren't primarily, they are a black owned company. Fawn, her husband, obviously. But at the same time, I went into 5 different liquor stores in 5 different types of communities: a Hispanic community, a black community, predominantly white community, and then a mixture on those other 2 stores of diversity. And 5 across the board said we don't sell it, and most of it is sitting on the bottom of the shelf, where people wouldn't glare at it. Where the top selling stuff, they got it on that top market. Most of it is Brown Forman and Diageo and I say Brown Forman, that's Jack and them, but then you got Jim Beam, Suntory.
Mm-hmm.
Those are those top 3 shells.
Well, and it's interesting that it's on. I mean, you're telling me it's on the bottom shelf because it's not a bottom shelf price. That's what used to be on the bottom shelf is a bottom shelf price. A cheap bourbon.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it is interesting to watch the story unfold, because I have seen Fawn do some really good marketing, but there's been a lot of upheaval with all of this for sure, and what's going on in their world.
Well, and they're not the only people out there with
No.
that are having issues. Gennard County Distillery, they filed for bankruptcy. And I could just name off a list of companies that have filed for bankruptcy and said, hey, we just can't do it. Even here in Texas, with craft distilleries, Devil's River, which is down in San Antonio, they've got Batista. He's a big action figure. He used to be a pro wrestler. He's a movie star now. He supports them. They filed for bankruptcy. So there's others out there that are filing for bankruptcy. They're in financial difficulty. They just, what's that old saying? They've outpunted their coverage.
Yes.
And they're paying the consequences of it right now. It's unfortunate. So,
Well, here's a question for you. Do you think some of it is because people assumed through that rise of, say, the early 2000s, all the way up to probably about 2019, where it was such at a high trajectory, just up, 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 up. Did too many of these people and some of these companies go, oh, well, I'm going to make millions. I've got to jump in here and end up in this spot because they didn't do it smartly.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's greed 101 right there. Let's make millions. Luca Margiano Distillery, which is out there in Danville, Kentucky, they closed this year, right? Or filed for bankruptcy. They made thousands and thousands and thousands of barrels, and right across the road, who do they have? They have Wilderness Trail, that is a monster, and even Diageo that bought them out is having issues right now.
Right.
It's just, it boils down to, hey, let's make more money. How do you make more money in whiskey? You make more whiskey, right? But whenever you start pricing your stuff, it starts going up in price to where now the old 7 years ago, when I got into podcasting, craft distilleries that would sell their whiskey for anywhere from $50 to $79. And I would hear people like, oh, that whiskey's not worth it at that price. It's young, or it doesn't have a good reputation. But now that whiskey's come of age. And it's some damn good whiskey from these craft distilleries out there that, their blends might be, or their batches might be 3 or 4, maybe 5, maybe 10 barrels, where, Jim Beam, they're putting batches down that are 3,000 barrels at a time.
Exactly.
But then they're charging the same amount of price as the craft distillery. So now we can get that premium whiskey in a smaller batch for the same price as the greed has taken over and stuff. And I'm not trying to pick on these distilleries that are having financial issues. We're not trying to say that at all.
No.
We're just diving into, because and I'll go through some of them real fast, that recently have filed for bankruptcy. Golden Moon Distillery out in Colorado. I did a distillery episode with them back in the day. I'd never aired it for some reasons. They're one of 49 craft distilleries identified by the American Craft Spirits Association that closed between January 2023 and September 2024. Lost Spirits Distillery in Las Vegas, Forge and Foundry Distillery in Minnesota, Black Button Distillery in Rochester, New York, Blinking Owl Distillery. Some of these I've never heard of. Goodnard County, I talked about them. There was a lot of deception in that.
Yes, there was.
Case, I believe. Yeah. Where other people had to step in to take over. Luca Mariano, Boston Harbor Distillery, Kentucky Owl, which is owned by the Stoli Group. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And Bardstown was really depending on that distillery. Bardstown was kind of counting on that tourism from Kentucky Owl. Westward Whiskey out in Oregon, I did an episode with them back in the day. Diageo was going to help support them, and they've now pulled out. So it's not just one. It's everybody, and it's across the world too. It's Scotch, and it is Irish whiskey. Everybody's feeling this because they just pumped out. They were on this whiskey craze almost. They called it a bourbon boom, but it was a whiskey boom. You used to go into a whiskey store, and these days, you would see sometimes you might have 10 or 15 expressions of whiskey that are American whiskey, and then you might have 10 or 15 Scotches and 10 or 15 Irish whiskeys. You might see one Japanese whiskey on the shelf. Today, there are rows and rows and rows, especially in Kentucky when you go to Liquor Barn up there.
Oh, absolutely. There are rows of it.
Yeah. So the greed has, to me, they're putting the blame on everybody else with tariffs and all these other issues on Gen Z not drinking their whiskey. But the number one factor, and
Greed.
I wish the politicians and the big distillery executives would be honest with themselves and say, it boils down to we got greedy.
Well, no, you're 100% right, because if you look at some of these brands, they are owned by a bigger corporation. that were European countries, Italian, from Italy, from France, and they bought up these brands, and the brands were great on their own. And I hope that the people that sold them made a nice profit and were able to walk away. But now these brands may go away because those big companies were greedy, going, well, we'll just own the whole thing, and because you've got places like Pernod Ricard, they're not doing great, and they've got a whole bunch of brands.
Yeah, and those companies will survive. The person's going to be hurting that is the consumer that might have this favorite brand that they like to drink, and that brand's probably, I don't want to say it is, I don't know, I'm not a fortune teller, but like the 1970s, they might see brands disappear
Yeah.
overnight and not be on the shelf and stuff. And we've seen a few of that happening and stuff. It's just, it's unfortunate. Greed takes place, and now with craft distilleries closing, I think there it's not so much as greed is they've asked a lot of them will bring in consultants, and the consultants say you need to do this or you need to do that. You need to go to Texas. You need to put your stuff out in Colorado, or you need to put your stuff in Florida. That shit costs a lot of money. It's not cheap, and you know that because you've worked at a distillery before.
It's not cheap to try to get distribution in other states, and I have to tell you, where I worked prior, the smartest thing that we ever did, and I wholeheartedly believe this to this day, is to get community buy-in and then grow that community to regional, and grow that regional to state, and then grow that state to another state, and do it slowly. Because other than that, like you said, you're taking marketing tips from somebody who is happy to spend your money, but they don't know really what your money and your budget and how your finances go. And if you get out there too far, you're going to be sinking.
Yeah, I mean that's marketing 101 right there. But they want you to keep you. They're like, oh, this is working. We're doing good and stuff. The distributor is going to help us out, and that's a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah,
Right there, I'll tell
absolutely
you
it
that.
is. Because most of them don't do near what they say they're going to do on the distribution.
Hell no, they don't. They're just there to fill their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way of the world is. And I've said time and time and time again, if a distillery calls me and asks me, and several do, will say, "Hey, Big Chief," because I'm cheaper than a consultant sometimes, up to a point. If you called and asked me, I'm say win your backyard. That means win the city you're in. If you have 50 restaurants in your city that your distillery's in, you should have some kind of SKU in that restaurant. You should have some kind of pour.
Absolutely.
That's the most upsetting thing when I go to a distillery and then I go out to eat that night and I want a pour of your whiskey, and they were like, we didn't even know we had a distillery in this town. The next thing is to win your state. Or your whole region, I guess. If you're a big state like Texas, win Houston, or win Dallas, or win San Antonio, or win a big area. With Kentucky, do you win all Lexington, or do you win all of Louisville? Win that region, and then expand to the entire state. And then once you're outside, you've won your state, then possibly you can think to chew off another state. Well, why pick a state and Texas is my home. I love my state. We love whiskey here. A lot of people, we love beer too, but we love whiskey. But at the same time, don't chew off more than you can bite, because Texas, your stuff could just get lost on the shelf here.
Well, I
Pick a
mean,
smaller state.
Texas is so big. Y'all are massive. I mean, the distribution alone in that is broke up into more than, so Kentucky, Tennessee, it's kind of, you could do like middle, central, east, west.
Yeah.
Texas, where do you begin? Like, do you try to start the panhandle, where, like the coastline on the east side, or it's just massive.
Well, I've told somebody recently, I said, pick a smaller market. Where I live is the Golden Triangle, is southeast Texas. And this is a good market to break into. We're a little over 500,000 people here in this small region, 90 miles from Houston. So if somebody really wanted to get your whiskey or heard about it, they could get over here and grab it. Stuff. You got people from Louisiana that can grab it, just drive across the state line. So it's a good region that you're not going to get drink dry. You could start out in Texas, but pick another state. I'm telling you. I don't understand why people don't go to Alabama or Georgia, a state that is not going to just drink you completely dry.
Well, I do understand why they don't go to Alabama. No, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It is a state controlled. It's a controlled state. It is so hard to get dispersed in a controlled state.
You're right there for sure.
I mean, the state controls it. You've got to really do the legwork yourself. You need somebody manning your brand in that state if it's a controlled state. Whereas Georgia, which is a 3-tier state, it's a little easier to get distribution in 3-tier states, I'm going to say, than a controlled state controlled. It's just, my brother-in-law, I made a post the other day about, and had 2 Wellers on there, and he said, we can't find Weller in Alabama. And I know he can't, because I know where it is.
It's all in the state of Texas, baby.
No, for Alabama.
Ohio.
Yeah, for Alabama, it's all in their back department, and important people get it.
Well, that's the same thing with Virginia. My son-in-law works for Virginia ABC, and he'll tell you the same thing. That's how it works and stuff. What a great first half we've had here talking about this, and we're going to continue this conversation in the second half. And listeners, you can see the chemistry have, and this is why April has been on my show more than anybody else, because we just our conversations. I was kind of feeling down in the dumps the other day. I had a wisdom tooth pulled out. Yes, I'm almost 52 years old, and I still have my wisdom teeth. I have every tooth in my mouth. Well, not anymore. I'm shy one now, but I was feeling down about it, and I called April and Mark in early in the morning. She said, "Hey, call me in 3 minutes. I gotta make some coffee." But lifted my spirits up, and this is why she gets to come on my show, is because she speaks truth to power. There's no bourbon bullshitter with her. She does speak the truth. So you stick with us. When we come back, I got another amazing whiskey to tell you about that has just been released. And I might even tell you about another whiskey I see sitting over here on my desk, and I'm almost drank it all.
Oh, my interest is piqued.
It's set in my backpack for about a month. I'm just walking around with it. That's just kind of how I roll. But this birthday bourbon, if you can get your hands on it, I'm not promoting or anything like that, but I know $200 is a lot of money. It's going to be hard to find. Would I pay secondary price for it? I will not. I'm not going to pay $500, $1,000, $1,500. I think it's worth that. It's a special pour, even at 92 proof. It's delicious. Would this compete for my whiskey of the year? I don't think so. It's not like blowing me away, but it's a damn good whiskey. I already got people asking me, because people are always saying, "Hey, Big Chief, can I get your sample bottles that you get?" I mean, you can see behind me over there, I've got some whiskey stacked up that they're going to be on my show pretty soon. K-Luke and a place out in South Carolina, Bluffton, South Carolina, Burnt Church. So they're going to be on the show, and I can't touch it. I know it's good whiskey in there.
Those are great size sample bottles, because you and I both know that's not normal sample bottles. Sample bottles are the short ones that you showed me of birthday bourbon there. You have none of that left. None of that left.
Bottles are like this.
Yes, exactly. Right, zero left of that. So no, nobody can get your samples.
I do. I feel I'm very blessed to have Old Forester or any of the big brands send me anything, and I'm very grateful. I'm a blessed man, and I'm blessed to have a great guest like this right here. So you stick with us, listeners. We'll be right back. Leaper's Fork Distillery is an artisan distillery working to bring back the history and heritage of a small batch whiskey production to Williamson County. The distillery crafts premium spirits using local ingredients and limestone filtered water to create superior spirits with a signature taste. Yeah, you know I love their wheated bourbon. Leaper's Fork Distillery is characterized primarily as a low volume, low impact concept of production. They are excited and honored about bringing back a lost art and industry to a county that always puts its history and heritage at the forefront. Visit them today at leapersforkdistillery.com. Hey, listeners, we're back for the second half, and yeah, you can see who I got with me. My good friend. I got the Bourbon Baroness, April Weller Cantrell, Bourbon Royalty. You notice that middle name? Not really her middle name, her maiden name, Weller. One of my favorite whiskeys of all time. It's a wheated bourbon. But for this second half, April, I got another special pour. Recently, Sazerac has released, or Buffalo Trace has released their Eagle Rare 12 year.
Yum.
Listen to that baby pop.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So I've had this a couple times, and I ran across some bottles magically. That's happened sometimes to me. And I'm happy about running across bottles like this. Oh man, what a nose on this whiskey. What are you drinking for the second half?
So for the second half, I'm going with one that I really do always like. It's Four Roses, small batch, select, and got some good friends that work at Four Roses, and it's just a good go-to. I can drink this stuff like water. That's probably the unfortunate thing for my part, but it is very smooth. Great nose on it, and man, I just really love the flavor of these small batch selects with Four Roses.
Ooh, I'm going to tell you something about this right here. Listeners, I had this before. I didn't say this before because I was sick and I really couldn't get all the nuances of this Eagle Rare 12 year. This could be one of my whiskeys of the year. I'm going to put it in that shelf that has it for that. This is a mash bill number 1, which is also a Buffalo Trace E.H. Taylor Stag. It's 12 years old, 95 proof. I like that right there, that they went up in the proof. Wish it would have been 100 proof. It would have been really nice right there.
You are a lover of high proofs like me.
Yeah, man. They do it for me. But what's nice about this is on the nose, I get some dried cherries, the toasted oak that I'm always looking for, that sticky nose, almost marshmallowy. I get a little bit of new leather, like walking into a leather shop or a saddle shop.
Ooh, one of my favorite things to smell is leather, new leather. Ooh.
Dark caramel and hints of vanilla bean, and that tobacco leaf sometimes I can get, almost like a Swisher Sweet cigar. And then some baking spices on the nose. And then on the palate, this thing is full-bodied, I'm telling you. Showcasing flavors of brown sugar, charred oak, and ripe dark fruit. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about cherries, apricots, some cinnamon and some nutmeg, and then, as always, this got some dark chocolate on it. So this is
one of my faves.
Oh, yeah. Long and lingering finish on this. Not a whole lot of oak tannins, which I love. I'm not big oakiness. 12 years is probably my max years on a Kentucky bourbon. And listeners, you know I'm not an ageist. I look at the region where the whiskey comes from. People that say, "Oh, I only drink bourbon that's over 8 years old." Oh, you're full of shit. You need to grow up a little bit and look at the region itself. For all whiskeys, whether it be Scotch or Irish or whiskey in America, look at where it's coming from. If it's for down in the dirty South, that age is a little bit hard to come by, and you're going to be over oaky with it. Unless it's something like I drank some Jimmy's bourbon from Tyler, Texas. They had put some barrels in their cellar, and it went for 10 years, and by far the best Texas whiskeys I've ever had is from Tyler, Texas, at Keepersaw Vineyards up there. You got to check it out. But this right here, subtle smokiness on the finish and stuff, and just a touch of honeyed citrus. It's almost like a hot honey for me, and pepper. Delicious.
Well, so this one on the Four Roses, just checked its proof. It's 104.
Ooh.
So it is really good. And I got to tell you, the nose on it, you get some raspberry and cloves on it, which I'm a big fan of, just that kind of nose on it. But the other thing that I really like is just on the flavor profile on your palate, you can pick up a little bit of apricot, get a lot of vanilla, not a lot of, as you said, oaky flavoring, maybe a touch, but it really has a really long finish on it, which I really like. And it kind of leaves that cinnamon with a touch of vanilla left on it. So cheers to
Cheers.
Eagle Rare and to Four Roses.
You know what I really love about this, April? And this is why Sazerac's went in the war against this downfall. Is their initial price on this is $49.99, if you can believe that.
Nice price.
And they're also trying to do something to beat the secondary market with this. And when I was over at the Sazerac house and I was talking to my good friends over there, Matt Ray, he's like, listen, we're going to flood the market. They had a little issue with the first release of it. I've seen it in stores from anywhere from $50 up to $89. Would I pay $89 for it? I probably would. But $49.99, they are going to flood the market with this and with their other expressions coming out. They got all the damn whiskey. They're just going to flood the market. That way us consumers don't have to pay overprice, and I'm excited about this. That's the way to do this right here. You want to make your money back? Mm-hmm. Flood the market. Put it out there. Stack that stuff up in stores like Christmas trees, whatever you got to do to get it out there at the right price and, help the consumer out. Why, at the same time, you're going to still line your pockets.
No, absolutely. Well, 2 years ago, here's a question. 2 years ago, maybe longer than 2 years ago, but not much longer than 2 years ago, what would you have paid for Eagle Rare if you'd found it in the store?
I think 7 years ago, I can remember getting a bottle for, I think, $31 of Eagle Rare 10-year. I think 2 years ago, $40. And I've seen it all over the place. I get to travel a lot. So
right.
I've seen it for $100.
I was going to say, in Tennessee, it was somewhere in the $100 range. I've only been to Liquor Barn a couple times after moving and moving my bourbon collection. My husband may or may have not gone, are you kidding me? This is how much we had? So, yeah, I had to put some of it in storage.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, I know you do.
We looked like the Beverly Hillbillies of whiskey going down the road when we moved home to Texas. And I actually asked our realtor's husband, I was like, can we store some whiskey at your house? And he's like, sure, you can store some whiskey at my house. So Viv and I show up at like 10 o'clock at night. And he's like, okay, where's all the whiskey at? And I was like, well, let's get started. It'll probably take us an hour to
unload.
And he was like everything? And I was like, no, just the whiskey.
Yeah.
The pickup bed was full. The back of the truck was full. Viv had whiskey in her car. It was more than we probably should have been carrying down the road. Should have had a hazmat sticker on my truck.
No, I understand completely, because when we came down from Kentucky, I asked my good buddy Michael Hornback, because I knew I couldn't put it in a pod. Can you imagine the heat in a pod with the whiskey and what that would have done? So I said, and of course Michael has a bourbon collection that anybody would drool over. And I said, I think I'm going to need your basement, if you don't mind, like a section of your basement. And he said, okay. He said, we'll just start drinking yours before we get to mine. I was like, at the point of moving, I was like going, whatever, get into it. You're my bestie. I don't care. Just let me put it here. And like you said, truckload, box after box after box. And they were like going, man, this is heavy. Like, good Lord. So,
How do we get our consumers? How do we get these Gen Zs? How do we get these younger folks to drink whiskey? How do these distilleries get them into the distillery? I mean, how do you get them interested in whiskey?
well, I mean, you made a good point in the first half of like the shows that where you put it in there, and obviously Buffalo Trace, and even Limestone with Yellowstone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge success for them and getting it in there. And I do believe advertising, but the other thing I think that you're going to have to do is win them through cocktails because, and we used to do this when we did tastings at the distillery. Is you would have people who were like, "Oh, it's just too hot. I can't do it straight." So, adding water. But I think the ready to drink cocktails, though, I'm not a big fan of, I like good cocktails made with bourbon, but typically speaking, as you well know, you and I both probably drink our bourbon on the rocks or neat. Um, but you're going to have to let go of some of those old ways of how, like being a bourbon snob, if you would, and get them involved with advertising via TV, as you said. Um, honestly, I can't believe what I know, and you probably never watched the show. I don't know. I watched it because of my girls. Vampire Diaries.
No, I didn't watch that.
I didn't figure you did, but those two guys that were on there, they drink bourbon the whole time.
Yeah.
And then what did they do a couple years ago? Brothers Bourbon.
Yep. Out of Statesville, North Carolina is where they
Yep,
get their whiskey from. Yeah.
yep. But they jumped right in there and took their fame of that show and did it. But those shows absolutely elevate whatever they're drinking. So, I mean, if you get Gen Zs on those watching those shows, for example, if you'd have put something in bourbon around Outer Banks, I promise you, Gen Zs would be drinking bourbon today.
I think you're right there. I think Yellowstone, the series or the TV show, was geared towards more our generation,
Mm-hmm.
our generation.
Mm-hmm.
But you find a younger show that they're interested in and get that stuff in front of them. The other thing is show them the cost of what drinking those pre-made cocktails, the cost of like White Claw or Truly or any of those
Mm-hmm.
pre-made cocktails that they're drinking today, and then show them what a bottle of whiskey cost. And I work with several young folks, and they're worried about cost, about eating out and what they're putting in their bodies and the cost of it
Yes.
and stuff. So when you look at it, there's really 50 pours in a bottle of whiskey. I know a lot of people will be surprised by that. 50 pours. That's a half ounce. I think it's a half ounce pour. I could be wrong. Somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong, but
You're
um,
no, I think you're kind of close on that. I was trying to
yeah.
remember. Um, yeah, because a quarter pour. No, that's about right. Because a quarter pour in tastings, which is what you do in Tennessee, you would get about 100, a little over 100 for the quarter pour. So you're probably
So if you show them what that cost is compared to what they're drinking and stuff, and how to make cocktails with it, the cost still by far outweighs the cost of those pre-made cocktails.
oh, absolutely.
I think a pre-made cocktail, truly, if Vivian drinks that in the pool in the summertime, I'll drink whiskey cocktails, pre-made whiskey cocktails in the pool. I do all the time because it's 100 damn degrees outside. So
Hmm.
a pour of neat whiskey is it just doesn't work.
I did.
So
So here's what I did the other day. We were going to a farm to table dinner, and it was outside. And I had been outside already all day. This is like a week ago Saturday. but we walked into a bar in Hodgenville called Top Hat. Anyway, I ordered Weller Neat, and it was hot. So just talking about heat, I was like, "What's the coldest beer you have over there?" That was my water. They didn't have no. They had zero on the bottled water. So I was like, and I'm not mixing Weller with anything, you know that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was just like, "Can you give me a beer, a cold beer?
A
That's my water.
cold
Yeah,
beer.
cold
Give me
beer,
cold beer.
cold beer, please."
Yeah, I think that's the way we market to younger folks. Now, right now, Kentucky, just Kentucky alone, between 2019 2022, they held 14.3 million barrels of aging bourbon on hand, and I think right now I saw a news article saying there's 22 million barrels of whiskey setting in Kentucky right now.
Well, I can tell you, there's more whiskey barrels than there are people. How's that?
Oh, I know that for a fact there. Yeah. But that's a lot of whiskey. What do you do with it? How long do you let it age? I mean, you can't. I don't believe that you can take it to more than maybe 15, 18 years and stuff. And by that time, your angel share is going to just be crazy. So what do you do
No,
with all of
absolutely,
it?
no, absolutely. So I had to go in and look it up. There are 12 million barrels of bourbon aging in whiskey, of bourbon in warehouses in Kentucky currently.
So they have sold a little bit.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you're right. You can't. Not everything's going to be a Pappy Van Winkle, obviously. And to be perfectly honest, once you get to about that 23, 25 year, it's a little chewy to me. I'd just soon have an oak
Hmm.
barrel. Um, so yeah, what are they going to do? I mean, you know, um, and maybe Sazerac with Eagle Rare has the right idea, or
Yeah,
with any of them, you flood the market.
I think you got to flood the market and you got to bring your price down to a reasonable price
Hmm.
to compete with these craft distillers with a high premium whiskey,
Yeah.
like this Weller or this Eagle Rare 12. Put more Weller on the shelves for people, the antique, the full proof, flood the market, and they're doing that. That was what they told me. I think a lot of people are crying about the tariffs. I saw Governor Bashir talking about the tariffs and how it's hurting Kentucky. And the only people those tariffs are hurting, though, are these giant distilleries. If you think it's hurting the craft distilleries, you're dead wrong.
Well, but the other thing of it is on the tariffs, Big Chief, is that it's the fear of a tariff. Really, currently, there's not any. The tariffs have not changed. I researched it last night because I was just curious. The tariff has not changed on exports to the UK and EU. They're still um, like around 5 to 25% maximum. But they've been there. The history shows they've been there. And at one point, the U.S. put tariffs on incoming imports
Mm-hmm.
just to protect the distillers themselves. So now, if you start talking about India and you're trying to ship to India, yeah, you're going to pay a tariff because they were at 150% and just recently dropped it to 100%. And I don't even know why people are sending it to India. I'm sorry, I don't get that because you're not making money on your whiskey at that point.
Well, not only are you not making money on your whiskey in India, but India has. I actually have a young lady I work with. I'm gonna give her a shout out, Rachel. She's in India right now. That's where her family's from, and
Mhm.
she's over there. Hopefully, she brings me back something good from India.
Yeah.
But India is coming about with their whiskey game and stuff. They're building distilleries over there. India drinks more whiskey than any other nation on the face of the earth right now. And I don't know how we're going to be able to compete as a American whiskey against that. You got to win your home base. I always say that. The most drink whiskey here in America right now is Crown Royal.
Yeah.
You see Crown Royal on everything. Dallas Cowboys, their main whiskey for there is Crown Royal. It's a damn shame.
Absolutely is.
Why is Crown Royal? Texans, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana drinks more Crown Royal than I believe the entire nation of Canada. And we got to change that. I called the American single malt rise the Scotch killer. And we have to embrace that. How do you embrace it? Well, then you got people in bourbon talking shit about American single malts. Well, that's idiotic.
Completely.
You're kicking your neighbor in the damn leg is what you're doing. You're jealous. You're afraid that they're going to take a little slice of your market, when really you should be trying to worry about, not brands, but Scotch and Irish whiskey and Japanese whiskey. But instead, you'll complain about your next door neighbor that's making American single malts.
Well, and see, to me, I would rather see Americans try that. And again, rising tides raise all ships.
Yeah.
Quit fighting against what you can't control, embrace it, and find a way to work with it. That's the one thing that I used to, or I've always loved about bourbon, the industry, was the brotherhood. And look, you and I both know at the end of the day, whiskey is whiskey. There are subtitles underneath that, or subheadings, if you would. But I mean, as American single malt, anybody in in America should not be bitching, about American single malt. If anybody was going to have a beef with it, shouldn't it be Scotland?
Mm-hmm. That or the Irish or even the
Yeah.
Japanese. They
Yeah.
all love single malts.
Right.
And I've drank some American single malts that are just blow your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Two of my favorites is Old Lion out of Maryland. A great veteran brand out there, listeners, that I just fell in love with. I named them my whiskey of the year last year with their American single malt, their Navy strength. Go Army, beat Navy. But it was still amazing. And then Talanoa out of Colorado, Patrick and Megan are making just this, oh my goodness, silky, smooth, amazing whiskey that just will blow your mind. So embrace them, and those folks, they buy into modern media. When Big Chief knocks on their door, they're like, what can we do for you, brother? How can we help you help us? And I think some of these distilleries are still fighting themselves with this they've hired these marketing companies that are afraid of modern media. They're afraid of, oh my God, maybe the distillery will learn that we're not doing anything for them, and they can just get on a podcast by sending them a $50 bottle of whiskey.
Right.
And we can get the news out about this stuff. So I don't know what the right answer is, but I know that things are going to have to change now.
Mm-hmm.
And history is going to repeat itself. But there's
Always
a way
does.
to handle it. And I think Sazerac has figured it out. They're bringing on fresh minds and people that want to change. Am I against the marketing companies? I'm not at all. But the marketing companies got to change too, or they're going to find themselves out of this whiskey business. I said, hey, I think it's Diageo that spent like 10% of their profits on marketing last year, which is like $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
You could hire old Big Chief. I'll be your marketing firm for you. I'll do it. Probably for a fraction of I don't need $1 billion. I'm telling you. And I will put together a team that will blow your mind. Do I know shit about marketing? I really don't. Do I like good whiskey? I do. And I like to support good whiskey. And that's what it's all about this right here. But, and let's talk about the facts of who's going to suffer through this. Because it's not going to be the consumer. It's not going to be these giants out there, these companies that are owned by billionaires or multi-millionaires.
It's going to be the small guy.
It's going to be the small guy, and it's going to be those workers at those distilleries when they lay off. And there's been several, and I'll point out some of them: Brown Foreman, Heaven Hill, I don't believe Suntory laid anybody off. I think they are still running full production.
Diageo did here,
Diageo,
yeah.
Diageo. When we talk about Diageo, listeners, we're talking about Wild Turkey. We're talking about Wilderness Trail. We're talking about Bullet. They did.
Yeah.
Some of them ceased operations.
Well, so my office, Big Chief, literally looks out the window to Diageo. And I have watched it be pretty much shut down, maybe 20 cars in the parking lot for about 3 months.
That's sad. I mean, because
Yeah,
those are people
absolutely.
that's who it's really affecting. The people that are making barrels, will we see ISC? We'll see some of the Coopers shut doors and stuff because people they're going to buy less barrels. And it's this trickle down effect, right? Barrel brokers that sell these used barrels. Those used barrel prices right now are $125. Those prices are going to come down too.
Absolutely.
So who suffers? It's that person that's making the whiskey, the true person that's making the whiskey, that's bottling it, that puts the label on, that does the truck driver that ships it out and stuff. That's who's going to suffer. Us consumers aren't going to suffer. And like I said, those billionaires, millionaires aren't going to suffer at all.
Well, and that's the sad part of it is like when you're looking at Tennessee and Kentucky and some of these other places that really thrive on bourbon, these communities like I live in, Marion County, they depend upon those jobs. So you're correct. They're the ones that's going to suffer.
Yeah, it's a rural community. Think about Girard County Distillery and how many people there really are
Small
suffering from
county.
that.
Yep.
Because they really put a lot of love into that one distillery there, and had high hopes on it and stuff. Tourism and we got good friends, Denny Potter and Jane Bowie that
Yes.
built the distillery, put a lot of money into it, and I mean, I think they're built for success and they're built for the long haul. But man, people gonna have to tighten them belts up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. But you're right. Denny and Jane, they are built for success, and man, I wish them all the best because those are two smart minds. Love them.
Yeah, you just gotta keep trucking sometimes and keep fighting a good fight. Craft distilleries, I think that what's hurting craft distilleries is, I'll talk to somebody and I'm like, how much did you spend on marketing this year? $50,000 or something. And I'm like, wow, that's an idiotic move is what that is. Hire somebody in-house hire a young person that understands social media and put out
Bingo.
you've already got them on staff. Oh, they don't like to do that. Well, guess what? They work for you.
Exactly. Be a
If you
boss.
see, if you see them on their phone, they're probably on social media, and why not use that to your benefit? The other thing I would say is, whenever you do put somebody on a podcast or out in social media land, make sure that they understand your product and your vision for what you're trying to do. They better know it like the back of their hand. I've said that before. I hate going on a car lot and I'll ask about a truck or something. I'm like, tell me all the specs on this truck. What's the towing capacity? What's the gas mileage? All the good stuff about a truck or something, right? And I expect the car salesman to be able to tell me everything about that truck.
Yes.
And when I talk to a whiskey person from a distillery and they're like, I don't really know. I don't know the mash bill and I don't know what kind of barrels we use. I don't know whether we're sweet mash or sour mash. I'm like, what is going on here?
Well, and the problem we have with that, because I have witnessed this for the last probably 12 years, is some of those distilleries, the bigger ones, hire people who are in the marketing industry to do their representation at tastings or, in the liquor, like Liquor Barn, whatever,
Yeah.
one of those places that you go buy it. And literally was in there one night with doing tastings for the distillery I worked for. And there was a girl over there next to me. She was working for another company. I knew that that company was doing some expansions. I knew they were doing some redos. I knew that they had some new bourbon coming out. And I went and asked them, I was like, so, what all y'all doing in expansions? Oh, yeah, I don't really know. So then I was like, okay, so tell me about your bourbon. Could not, could not. All they knew was, well, here's the bottle. This is what we're doing. And that does not help you. If you are hiring a marketing company that has a mouthpiece for you and it's a pretty little girl, pretty young girl, great. You better hope your consumer's dumb. That's all I can tell you. Because if you don't know, like you just said, um, well, this is our product. It's 104 proof. It has this mash bill. It has this nose. It has this palate. And trying to be able to interact with them, then you're not doing yourself a service and you're wasting your money.
Yeah, I think that's marketing 101 right there. When
Mm-hmm.
I go and I go to that car salesman for the new truck or new car for Viv.
Mm-hmm.
If they brought out let me get the pamphlet. Well, shit, I can do that myself on my phone these days.
Exactly.
I I want to step on there. I want you to sell me a vehicle, and the younger consumers don't do that anymore. They already they're probably smarter than that person that they're talking about, and if they walk in there and that person doesn't know as much as they do, then they're going to be
You lost them.
yeah,
You lost
interested
them.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I would tell distilleries out there is if you're going to hire somebody out there and you looking for a good employee, hire a veteran. Because you're going to have somebody that has loyalty and they're going to figure out everything about your product. I'm not saying all veterans are there, but I'd say
Right.
99% of your veterans out there are like that. They're geared that way. They're geared with a certain system in mind. They're going to know your system inside and out, backwards, front, any way you can put it. They'll know everything about it. And you can't go wrong with that. There's also a skills bridge system out there where transitioning veterans, you can get them into your distillery for the first 6 months or the last 6 months of their military career. You can get them in there working for you for pretty much for free. And you're not having to pay them. So it's a payback where after that 6 months you hire them and you got that person that you didn't have to invest a lot into. But you'll have somebody like myself that's going to do a deep dive on you and give you that. They're going to show up to work. They're not going to be late. They know how to get up early in the morning or work that late shift that you need worked. And, that's just smart all the way around.
No, absolutely. Well, and these companies, these distilleries, have to be willing to put in the time to get that person excited about their product. Otherwise, they're not going to be. That person's not going to be excited. And
Yeah.
there's. I'm not going to mention the name, but there is one fast food company out there. They may or may not sell chicken and promote against cows. But honest to God, their marketing, they have it down because those people know how to do it when you're there. And we can all take a lesson in marketing in bourbon from that aspect. Um, the marketing you just did on Eagle Rare, I would hope that anybody that's promoting the brand of Eagle Rare could tell you that.
I would say half of them couldn't tell you
I
everything.
would say half of them could not either.
But it's just, that's how I'm geared, and a lot of people compliment me and I love it when they say this to me. They're like, Big Chief, when you do an episode, you are so prepared. You're so prepared about history of a brand and Eagle Rare. I could tell you so many things about Eagle Rare itself, that it was originally created at Four Roses by Seagram's and to compete against Wild Turkey is what it was made for. And they were right
Right.
down the road. So the last point I wanted to make, I wanted to do a comparison, and you and I talked about this, April, was how history repeats itself. And there was this guy in history that everybody loves his stuff today. E.H. Taylor. They are absolutely in love with stuff. But the guy was a swindler. He was a scam artist, and he got himself in some financial troubles, bringing his brand really to the market. And I think while we're looking at all these things, the comparison I'd make against is Uncle Nearest, because they just bought that estate out on Martha's Vineyard and stuff. Well, he got himself in the same kind of trouble with building his distillery over there, which is Castle and Key today and stuff. And he was thinking outside the box, I think. Was he the original tourism? Yes, he was. But I kind of see their same fate in Uncle Nearest as I do in E.H. Taylor. He got out in front of his skis is what he did, really.
Well, and that can be a problem. Don't you find it ironic, though, that E.H. Taylor also is the father of getting the first kind of act of where it was the drug, alcohol, that kind of food act that, we want to fight for what is right, and we want it to be bourbon, and we want to get these rectifiers out. And I find that a little ironic in the history of it. But, of course, I've always said this, even with the distillery that I worked with before. I appreciate honesty, and I would rather be honest about everything that I do, and not take credit where credit doesn't have to be due. I mean, you'll get credit where credit's due. So yeah, not getting over your skis is probably a real safe advice.
Yeah, I mean, don't get over your skis. And it was kind of funny that they put a gag order on Fawn. They put a gag order on her.
Oh, I didn't know that. I hadn't read that one.
Yeah, because, she came out and said, oh, the real story's going to come out. Okay, well, I hate to tell you that whenever you file court papers, the real story is out.
Is out, yes.
Right, and there's some swindler stuff. When I look at it as kind of a risk analyst, I look at stuff and I'm like, there's some stuff out there, and there's been plenty of rumors out there about Uncle Nearest anyways. So, I just think when you compare the two, when you compare Uncle Nearest to E.H. Taylor, it's very similar. I would tell anybody, ask ChatGPT to compare the both of them, and you might be shocked at the similarities of how he got himself in financial difficulty, borrowing money, saying that you have more whiskey than you really do as your capital. I think they're $24 million short in capital, really, is what they're saying they're short. That's a lot of money. The other thing about Uncle Nearest, and this is the part that E.H. Taylor and them differ in, is E.H. Taylor actually made off his damn whiskey. And you can look this up, but there's a God's honest truth out there that Uncle Nearest doesn't make their whiskey. There's a sourcing, and there needs to be transparency there. And I love it when a brand says, hey, this is what we do. It's like Old Forester and talking about that sweet mash and stuff. They experimented, and hey, they were able to use that 12 years later in a sweet mash. But whenever you say, I make all of our own whiskey, and then you go into that distillery and the steel's not running, there's no grain to be seen anywhere, where's the whiskey being made? People have asked me, hey, Big Chief, do you want to start a distillery? Would you want to get into this? And I will tell you, listeners, I've come pretty damn close to it. What stopped me is millions of dollars. Now, if a distillery wants to hire me as, their face, as the old Big Chief of whiskey, then hey, I'm down. But I'm not a cheap fella. I'm not coming to work for free. So if you're facing a downturn right now and you need me to come, I can come for sure. But I do have a giveaway for listeners today, because I am still the weeded king of Kentucky, the big bad booty daddy of bourbon. I am still the man, and I love a weeded bourbon. And what I have for listeners this week is a bottle of Penelope weeded right here. This is non-chill filtered. This is 95 proof. This is a 4-grain bourbon. Why they do call it a weeded. What do the listeners have to do this? Well, first you got to follow my good friend on Instagram all week long. Follow her, and then in this post with April, I want you to tag 4 people. At the end of the week on Instagram, I'm going to select one person that's going to win this bottle right here. You got to be 21. You got to reside in the United States. That's all you got to do. Follow the Bourbon Baroness, follow the Whiskey Trip, and then tag 4 people. That's all you got to do to get this bottle right here of weeded bourbon. It's not open. I haven't put my lips to it yet. I have drank this, so I have no doubt about that. But a bourbon that I like. I love Penelope, what they're doing. They're honest and upfront about it. So that's my giveaway for the week. But I want you to go to Instagram, and I want you to follow the Bourbon Baroness. That's April Weller Cantrell, my good friend here. Well, listeners, make sure you follow my friend here, April Weller Cantrell, and her adventures as the Bourbon Baroness. You notice I keep saying that, but I really want to support her as much as possible. I haven't really driven my Instagram account. I'm just below 2,000 followers on Instagram, but that's my goal for the rest of the year, is to focus on Instagram and YouTube. So you can find me at the Whiskey Trip on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and now on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Leave me some comments on there on my episodes, and I'll keep bringing great episodes, getting great whiskey in my hands. The only way I can do that is if you leave me a review. So please go to my Facebook page, leave me a review on there, a 5-star review, some comments, and then go over and listen to Mark and Matt from the Bourbon Life on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. Leave those comments on there. Leave us a 5-star review. That gets great guests on my show, like April Weller Cantrell here. And great whiskey in my hands, like the Birthday Bourbon and Eagle Rare 12-year. I can't thank you enough. So listeners, this episode has been about the downturn in whiskey. I don't like leaving that on a negative. The way you can help whiskey out right now is go to a craft distillery and pick yourself up a bottle straight from them. That money goes straight in their pockets. It doesn't have to go to a distributor's pocket. It doesn't have to go to the state. I mean, it does. They got federal and state taxes they got to pay, but it does go into their pocket. So go to those craft distilleries, go to the big distilleries, go straight to there and help them out and purchase their whiskey. Don't purchase Crown Royal. Purchase something in your state, from your state, and let's beat this downturn in whiskey. This is Old Big Chief, and thanks for taking this ride with me, baby.